Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvel cast, the Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers Defenders to Rita Damara and Eric O'Grady. My name's Ashley Hobley, the Explosion Network's resident watcher, and joining me today, Ultimate Kira Marchant.
It is I, so we can, see how the original Explosion Network team gets killed off one by one.
Also joining us, astonishing Dylan Blight.
This episode was like a fucked up thriller, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, some nasty shit. This is like an adult episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. So today we're talking about What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes, directed by Bryan Andrews, written by A.C. Bradley and Matthew Chauncey. Nick Fury struggles to launch the Avengers when candidates are targeted by a serial killer. What an episode. Everybody's dead. They all died. Just incredible. Kieran, what did you think of the episode?
I thought the episode was pretty good. I think I was interested when I thought this episode was going to be dealing more with the aftermath of it, not the actual process of how the Avengers were killed off. But no, it's kind of how they each went through it, and even just like how it's framed within the terms of it all happening in a week and having like the days listed off and everything. I think it was interested to tie it in and have this differential story for Hope Van Dyne, and kind of tie that in, and then having that as the extra what if to this piece. I thought overall it was pretty good. Seeing the Hulk blow up like a giant balloon was something, and it's an interesting place. I hope next week's episode, or like a following episode, really does explore the aftermath a little bit more, or explores what happened with Loki or anything afterwards.
Season 2, they just loop back to all the stories.
Well, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, What If continues. Because, it's definitely a thing about this season where you're like, I kind of want to know what happens after, that happens. But I guess that's the same thing in, like, the comic books. So, like, you have a run and you're like, oh, I want to know what happened next, but, you only get a snippet. A slice of life, even, Dylan, what do you think of this episode?
I'm surprised Karen likes these if they're slice of life. No, I enjoyed this one. I didn't know what the reveal was going to be. I didn't guess it. I mean, I knew this was the one Loki was in, so a part of me in my brain was like, is Loki the person behind all this? And then the other part of my brain was going, well, that doesn't really make sense. I need like a good reason why Loki is just like would know who all the Avengers are, because I was like, I don't know how he would know that information, so that seemed off. And by the time I got to the end, I was like, oh yeah, this was a cool thing, because it wasn't until I got to the end I was like, oh, the what if scenario isn't like the what if scenario is, I guess, what if Hope became a SHIELD agent. Yeah. And this is and that's the change, and this is the aftermath.
Yes.
So technically, we don't see the what if. We kind of see. Well, we're not seeing the initial cause. We're actually, this episode only shows you the aftermath, where every other episode has been on the showing you it shows you straight up, like, here's the thing that changed. Yondu picks up the wrong person. Sharon gets the super serum. Like, it all shows you. Whereas this one, it doesn't actually show you the change. It's just all on what happens after, which is interesting. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good one. It was like a thriller. It kept me guessing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. Like you said, it kind of was like a thriller, and you're like, it's true. You can take this superhero genre and like they can do kind of any subsequent genre they kind of want. But that's potentially what we're going to see in this series. We already know we're going to get zombies, so we're going to get a horror episode, and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, I think the one thing, obviously, some of the voices, not being the MCU people, was kind of threw me a little bit. Even though Blake Bell, obviously a solid replacement for Scarlett Johansson, but I mean, it's not Scarlett. And
hers was noticeable. The one I wasn't 100% sure that I thought sounded legit was Bruce's love interest.
Betty Ross,
I
wasn't sure.
Betty Ross, because she was. She was.
I doubted it, but it
there's no
legit.
way it was. Liv Tyler's very almost soft spoken.
No, it definitely wasn't, because in the credits it isn't. But that was the one where when she came on, I was like, Is it her?
Well,
like,
I
like
guess
I was
they-
open to it being her.
I guess they were almost doubling down on the fact that it's the same events but different people because, yes, they had a different Betty Ross, and they didn't even try and make it like Liv Tyler. They didn't try and make it look like Liv Tyler. They didn't try and make it sound like her. And at the same time, there is, Mark Ruffalo is in the place of Bruce Banner in this story. So it's almost like treating the original Incredible Hulk story, if maybe that one is like a different alternate universe Incredible Hulk story now, and this Mark Ruffalo one is the main one, if you want to think about it in that kind of terms.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that. It didn't even cross my mind that Mark Ruffalo wasn't in that movie.
Yeah, no.
You know the other random thing I was thinking while watching this. I don't know if this is just like because of the show, but do you think that this kind of confirms the long running sort of theory that Incredible Hulk and Thor take place at the same time? Because the way this plays out is it makes those two the events of those two movies
They imply all those things happen in like subsequent days.
A week, and I don't think anything in the past has been like, hey, this all happened in one single week, or like that time frame was ever implied, because I think we've all felt, especially in later stages of the MCU, there is a definitive passing of time, almost equivalent to the passing of time in the real world. So it is a peculiar change that I guess you look at it now, and I guess it does make sense. Like, in Iron Man 2, they're talking about Thor's hammer anyway in the original movie. Okay. So that's pretty close together. The only one that threw me off was the fact that images of the Incredible Hulk are shown at the end of Iron Man 1. No, it's not. It's the end of Iron Man 2. So, yeah, no, that does line up. My brain is incorrect. Yeah, well, in the final scene where Tony Stark is in the room with Nick Fury, and Nick says you're just going to be a consultant, you're not actually part of the Avengers. On the screen in the background is the footage from Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, at the park.
It's the only reason anybody knows that anybody realized that those movies were actually connected was because of that little footage.
Oh no, they had Tony Stark in at the end of Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's interesting. Were you guys shocked the way the episode opened with Tony Stark getting the injection that we saw in the movie? It was going to help heal him, and he just drops over dead. I was like, wow, why is he playing dead? That's really weird.
Why is he playing Get Up, Iron Man? Need to get up. Oh god, it's like freaking The Lion King all over again, but actually an Iron Man instead of Mufasa and Simba. But I think it was an interesting point in time to kill off Tony Stark rather than just having it that, the serum didn't work and the radiation poisoning killed him. It was the fact that he was, had a Ant-Man injected inside of him.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple ways he could have taken him out. I mean, he could have hidden in the suit and taken out all the stuff when he's flying or whatever. But yeah, that was interesting.
I guess it makes it leads into Black Widow having her own version of the elevator scene with the same goons. It's just inside the back of a truck.
Oh my god, I'm so annoyed. Actually, I know it would have been corny, but I was expecting her in the back of that car to just look around and be like, so. And say
anybody want to get out?
Yeah.
I do appreciate Frank Grimes is the actor's name.
Frank Grillo.
Frank Grillo. Sorry, why did I say Grimes? Who the fuck's Frank Grimes? I don't know.
That's from Simpsons.
Rick Grimes is the lead character out of the Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead.
Right? Yeah, I don't know why. But no, even his part of just him talking about what's she gonna do, she couldn't even land a punch or something, or I could dodge her punches, and then just proceeds to a scene of all she's doing is punching people in the head, and punching people in the guts multiple times.
And legit punching bags, because there's several times where she's just it's
I mean,
very
you can pull that off in cartoons. I mean, animation. There were certain things that they played up with animation, there was a lot. As much as we had really dark undertones to this episode of everybody getting murdered, there were a lot of jokes,
Too many, in my opinion. A lot of the weird Thor's hair is really good, that sort of stuff, and then Coulson's password being
Coulson?
# Captain America # that there was just a little bit too much of
Look,
that.
Coulson was weird the entire episode when he started smelling the corpse of Thor and being like,
Even
"Man, he
his
smells
rotting body smells like lavender.
lavender." I was just like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, I guess do you guys think is there almost a little bit of whiplash considering the kind of topic of last episode kind of lent itself to being cartoony and funny and over the top, whereas this content doesn't really lend itself to that style in that? Do you?
I mean, I feel like most of it was pretty good at being serious and a thriller, and then they were throwing in too many jokes to make sure everyone remembered it was a lighthearted Marvel thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I think you overshot the mark with some of the jokes because they just came off weird and, well, yeah, I know they just came off weird. So, like,
so we're under the impression in this universe that the All-Father goes into his deep sleep, and then Loki comes along and is like, "Yeah, I'll take over Midgard while you're asleep." Is that what happens after Thor gets murdered?
Well, I guess at the time, after the All-Father goes into his deep sleep and Thor gets exiled, Loki in that point is leading Asgard. Like,
so what if he goes into deep sleep because he finds out that his son died on Midgard? Is that what?
Possibly, because the original was just the fact of Odin not being able to handle the fact that he had to exile his own son and stuff, and that kind of brought on the deep sleep. So I guess either way, Odin's going into the deep sleep. I just think it's interesting that I don't know. It's interesting that the whole of like the whole scene of them coming down at the fact that Thor got killed at that point. I was kind of like, well, guys, you are the people that stripped him of his like godliness and made him immortal and sent him down here into exile. It's not their fault that he got killed, even though he got shot. But
I mean, it was Earthlings who did it, so I mean,
yeah, it's just like no. But the thing is, right? It's like you let your it's like you kick your cat out, and then your cat gets hit by a car, and you go mental at the person that hit your cat. It's like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure people do that. They get pretty upset with it.
But the cat wouldn't have been there if you hadn't let it out. Like, the Thor wouldn't have been there if you hadn't have exiled
Wow,
him,
you
so
just
he wouldn't have died.
You just want people murdering cats because they're outside? Is that what you're saying?
No!
No repercussions?
Wow.
Terrible. Obviously, we got the Hulk blowing up. That was like a reasonably interesting animation choice they went with there.
I was waiting for what was really weird is that prior to watching this, for some reason my brother yesterday was talking about this. I don't know how to remember that, this famous video from like the 70s where they tried to blow up a fucking whale on a beach because it got stuck there and they put dynamite under it. It's like a famous news clip. I don't know if anyone's seen this. I'm sure someone listening.
It does sound
ridiculous.
something. Yeah, I remember.
It's like something that happened. It's this
Ashley
whale
was
that got
probably
stuck on
there.
the
He
beach and-
probably put the dynamite under there.
So I'd seen that like within 24 hours, and then watching this later, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like where all the Hulk bits landing on the ground in front. And
They never come
top
back.
of everyone. They never
maybe
come.
that'd be a kind of humor of a bit too far, right? If like Betty's
It
just
seemed like
on
he was
her
just
knees
made
crying.
of gas. The way he exploded.
Well, that's the thing. I think we didn't linger very long on the explosion itself. It looked like a very gassy explosion instead of a very kind of mucusy explosion, if that is even.
That's the way I describe my farts, you know.
I hope your farts aren't mucusy explosions. That'd be gross.
And then, Nick almost called. Did he call Captain Marvel, or he teased calling her? Do you think he called her after when Loki?
I think he called her after, right? Like that's who appears at the end of the.
Yeah, he calls her because he needs help to kill fucking
to
Loki.
get rid of Loki.
It's going to be the captain and the captain versus Loki.
I'm gonna say Loki moved pretty quickly though. Like it was.
When an opportunity appears, you have to take advantage as quickly as possible.
Also, Brandon, is Steve Rogers still frozen at this point?
Yeah, he was literally standing over his frozen shield at the end of the episode.
Oh shit! Right, that okay. My brain. Right,
It's fine.
that just didn't even process.
So good. Anything else you guys want to talk about this episode?
Yeah, I want to call out one thing that I really liked that I wish they'd do in every episode, which is the including the Watcher in the background of shots to keep it in tone with the series being about him literally watching the events, and that's the setup for every single episode. But every other episode, they had one shot, I think, last week, and the first episode had 0. But I actually appreciated the really overarching, completely nonsensical, because obviously our characters that we're watching don't see him, but it's just for us as the viewer. But I like it. I think that they should
it's
have
really
more
cool.
like that.
The shot of
Maybe you just didn't notice it before. Because honestly, I
wouldn't
didn't realize
notice.
that was the thing until you just mentioned it.
Really? You didn't see the really
Really?
obvious shot of them driving from left to right in the desert and the Watcher just being a massive
I'll
figure
be honest,
in
I
the
was
distance?
doing multiple things at once.
Okay.
I was prepping the notes for this.
How are you prepping the notes when you're watching the episode?
Quickly
You're
look
supposed
up
to watch
the details.
Jesus
Writer,
Christ.
director.
Do it after you watch.
Episode,
we can wait. We're
plot.
not in a rush.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
well,
mate.
it definitely wasn't a thing. Last week had one shot, I think, of the Watcher in the background when I was in space. And then he was like in the middle of the screen. First episode had 0 that I'm aware of. And then this week had 2 very large moments of him looming in the background, watching, because he's literally called the fucking Watcher. And I think that should be, I'm hoping this is a build up where, because as I said, I feel like he should be integrated more, or at least prominent more, and at least having him in the background of shots makes you go, oh, yeah, that's the premise of the show, is he's telling the story to us as the viewer, and his job in the universe is literally he's someone who watches everything happening in the multiverse. So
I don't know if I'm just been blind the last 2 weeks or not, or I haven't just paid enough attention to the opening. Have they had in the past 2 episodes the kind of the image of like the kind of 3 like almost glass panes shattering, and then there's just all different character images in each one as it like shatters further and further in? Because I thought that was really cool this week, and
It might have.
I think so.
possibly, most likely, I've probably just been either looking at my phone or doing notes for the show while I'm watching it each week.
that's good.
Yep.
Alright, let us know what you thought of this episode of What If, especially if you weren't writing notes down and were paying full attention. But you're on to explosionof.com/Twitter and letting us know on Twitter, or you can jump to Discord at explosionof.com/Discord. Leave all new Marvel casts a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tell people about the show. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionof.com/support and buy us a coffee. So make sure you watch next week's episode of What If and join us next time for another all new Marvel cast.